Check A, B, C, D.
Walkie
1,
check.
2, 3. My name is Logan Aldridge.
Wieners.
Oh, that's good. Check 2.
Check 2.
Check.
I say we just go for it. Do you want to talk into one too?
I'm gonna need you both to bring the mics. That's good. I'm good. We're good.
I think the mics are good.
Yeah, they're good. Hi guys, welcome to the Leg Day podcast.
Special Arm Day edition.
Arm Day. We're here with our friends John and Logan. I'm Nathan. That's Kevin. We're always here. Thank you for tuning and subscribing. Logan, you got a microphone, so why don't you go first?
It's in my hand.
Tell us who you are and why you're important enough to be on the Leg Day podcast.
Well, yeah. Let's start. Where do we begin? With the frostbite or the rescue mission? Who
He started by just losing his fingers.
Right.
And then it was a hand.
It progressed. Then I stopped eating vegetables. And look at where we are.
Listen to your parents, kids, or you end up like this.
This is what happens.
Mm-hmm. It's a little chicken wing.
Hey, anyways, we could do this forever. My name's Logan Aldridge. I don't know if I look at the camera or do I talk?
Do what you want.
All right.
It's like a sitcom where we all sit on this side of the table, but talk over that way.
Yeah, look at the fridge. Cool. That's what I normally do. Anyways, I'm Logan. This is my coach, friend, fellow adaptive enthusiast, CrossFit connoisseur, John Prescott. And we're here in Canada at the WheelWod.
Oh,
Games.
Canada.
Okay, I can't get our word in edgewise with these guys. Trying to have my moment here. And I'm excited to have this opportunity to try to say some words seriously, which is rare amongst this crew.
That's great because I think our YouTube views are up to about 30 on the first video.
Oh, good. They love this banter.
Number. That's a good start.
30 people listening to this.
And luckily you can edit
honored.
a lot of this out too.
Why are we in Canada, Logan?
So, yes, as I was saying, sorry, I digress. We're here for the WheelWod Games as part of the UG Series, which is a really cool competition in Collingwood, Ontario. And it's, I guess, similar to like a Wadapalooza feel where we're out in the sun on this cool little peninsula in the great, what lake is that? Lake Ontario?
Lake Ontario.
And, we're doing a bunch of fun fitness. We did something that I dislike a lot, a triathlon this morning.
That's
There was
because it's
swimming.
like 14
Oh
degrees
my
Celsius
God.
water.
Were you
Or is
swimming
that
in circles?
I was running
cold.
into the wall a lot. I kept, and that was actually by choice. I was also drowning, so I needed the
He pulls
wall.
real hard to the left.
Yeah. I know one way. No, it was fun. It was fun. So today was great. Today was actually the second day, but it really felt like the first day because we were out there in the field. And, we're here with incredible athletes, adaptive athletes from all over the world, literally. And it's so cool. This year, I think we've hit a tipping point where
There's like 7 different languages.
It's a lot of language barriers, but the competition is wild. It's really neat to watch, and the points matter, and I think that makes it a lot more fun for us as athletes and for the people watching. I think they're starting to see something happen. So
I think it's a lot tighter this year. It's not just a runaway competition.
Yeah.
From all the divisions where one person's kind of crushing everyone.
Yeah, and that's been a long journey to get here. Like when you look at how long we've been doing these sorts of competitions, that's what makes me most excited. I am competitive, and it's fun to be excited to have good points or to be trying to win or be on the podium. But the bigger picture, the most exciting thing, and I think a big reason that we want to talk about this on this podcast is like what's actually happening now, and that gets me fired up. Kevin and I and a few others, and these guys as well, especially John, are huge advocates for the adaptive community, and we go around and talk a lot about it. So to see it grow internationally like this is freaking awesome. So that's what we're doing here.
I have a question kind of on something you just said. You said it's been a long journey. Can you take us back on your personal journey, kind of like where this started? Like, were you active as a kid? How'd you get into CrossFit?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
How did you get to where
Why
you
are
are
you
now?
missing an arm?
Yeah, you guys probably don't know me. So I'm
Hey
from
guys,
Raleigh,
this
North
is
Carolina.
Logan Aldridge.
And I'm born and raised. I guess you'd call me a Southern boy for that reason.
Hillbilly ninja.
Kind of. It comes out sometimes.
He's
the redneck
He's pretty
side of me.
redneck.
But yeah, I grew up loving board sports, playing sports, football, soccer, lacrosse. Loved lacrosse, but I really loved extreme sports. Hence wakeboarding, skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding. If it was on a board, I was into it. And so after a few years of having a lake house, I fell in love with wakeboarding. I was doing it all the time. That was my main focus. And I was wakeboarding when I was 13 and finished and started wrapping the rope around my arm, like over the thumb, under the elbow you do, and a couple loops like that. And with the end of the rope underneath the back of the boat, it got caught in the propeller. So it kind of tourniqueted around my upper arm, if you will. And then, long story short, after a week of trying to save it and get in the hospital, they ended up having to amputate it. And so 13, scrawny little punk, definitely a rebel, like beer bonging Dr. Pepper at the beach. They call us Groms.
I want to see that.
Dude, we used to go through a 12-pack in an hour. Like, I can't
I want
believe.
to see that.
And he doesn't have diabetes.
Yeah, that's the wild part. Seriously, we were such little punks. But we were kind children, I like to think. But it was an incredible experience to have at 13 and an eye-opening one for me to appreciate a different perspective. And that was instilled very quickly in the accident when my mother actually said, "It's just an arm." And when I asked, "What if I lose my arm?" She said, "It's just an arm." So that perspective has stuck with me, and that's been a big part of how I perceived and decided to move forward being this one-armed kid at 13. Which, is pretty, like, identifying. You want the girls to think you're cool and all that stuff. And so there was a lot of...
I still want them to think I'm cool.
And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be the cool dude with one arm. So I didn't change anything that I wanted to do or any activity I wanted to try. I just knew things would be different and kind of hard. So I went back to lacrosse and played all throughout high school and on a travel team, year-round team, and continued wakeboarding and competing in wakeboarding. And that was a lot of fun. And I got much better with one arm than I was with two, so that was cool. But I went to college, had a great college experience, kind of playing on a club team and hanging out with friends. And it was a great opportunity to just have a social life because a lot of what I did afterwards was shared my story. I went around and talking and started a foundation and was raising money for children's hospitals because of the way I was treated. And in college, I wanted to pursue that experience and education. And after that, I kind of felt that I was missing that friendly bond in the gym. I would always go to work out with friends, and that wasn't happening anymore. I was going to the Y, and that's when I came and started CrossFitting in Raleigh, and I went around to a couple gyms and learned a little bit more about it, and came to what was at the time John's gym, the gym he was running.
I'm not there anymore.
Not there, it's a different gym now. But that one at the time was one of the 12 in Raleigh.
Shameless plug.
And went there and fell in love with it. I mean, truly fell in love with the people. John's willingness to work with me and figure this out, and I had a goal to do this. This is what we are now. Where I said 5 years ago
we could be doing more for the.
What's your goal? What do you want to do? And
be an advocate.
So
said yeah.
And you're not only a ridiculous one-armed athlete, not only a pretty cool dude, but also you're on the adaptive staff with me. So me and you run the CrossFit Adaptive Seminar together with Stouty and Alec.
Yeah.
So now he's also going around teaching people how to do fitness as a one-on athlete.
That's that's the pinnacle of the progression that I could have never saw the opportunity to be a part of 5 years ago.
I think if you think back to, it's really interesting is to see that it started as I just want to take what I want to do and show other people they can do it, right? Like the bigger thing is I want to let other people know that you don't just have to sit around and do nothing. Like there are things that you can do, and it started that way. It was like really organic, and a few people found us on social media, and so he was kind of sharing. And next thing you know, we have like 9 adaptive athletes in our gym of all various types and adaptations, and it's kind of created its own sort of following.
Yeah, and so this is John Prescott.
Hi, John Prescott.
He's the owner of Noose River CrossFit.
I am.
He is also. Would you consider yourself an adaptive athlete? Would you consider yourself an athlete?
It's funny that you say that. I have a fundamental belief that pretty much every athlete is adaptive, right? So like, that guy has a bad knee. That guy had a hip replacement. That guy has a, herniated disc. So I think if you consider the way that we structure our classes, the way that we structure our workouts, if you're coaching the right way anyways, there should always be some variations and different adaptations for athletes and needs. I do consider some of my issues to be adaptive in the nature that it hurts a lot and that it causes me pain sometimes, but I think that I think it's more of a mindset for me. Like I'm fine. I can move. I can roll. But I if we go back to when I got into how I got to CrossFit, it was, I was a 265-pound 2-pack-a-day smoker, and I had years earlier suffered this autoimmune issue where I was actually in a wheelchair and I couldn't walk and I couldn't, I was bedbound for like 6 months or housebound at least. And kind of coming through that and being overweight and then overcoming all those different things, like my mindset in the gym has always been like, everybody should be entitled to have their own fitness and their own health. Like that's what we should be as
100% agree.
doing that's what we should be doing. That should be what CrossFit is and what it should represent. And then if you can accelerate somebody's capacity to do more, then you're doing your fucking job. Like you're doing what you should be doing. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yep. And we have a mutual friend.
In a nutshell. We do have a mutual friend.
And she would get really mad at us if we didn't mention her.
Jen with 2 N's?
Jen with 2 N's.
Jen
It's
with 2
J-E-N-N.
How do you say it?
Jen with 2 N's stack.
She used to lift weights.
She still lifts weights.
Oh, she lifts weights still?
Yeah. She doesn't do so much of the
that's right. I saw her
CrossFits.
on Instagram.
She doesn't do so much of the CrossFits, but she still does the snatch and clean and jerk.
Yeah, I follow her on Snapchat. I know what's going on out there.
She was off the social medias for a little while. Her and Jared.
Well, they're a high ticket item.
Yeah, they are. They're a celebrity couple, if you will.
Well, they're two blondes living in a dark world.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few blonde couples,
Yeah. Jen compared John to me and said that me and John are basically the same coach, but
Pretty
John
much.
is willing to admit that he's passionate, and apparently I'm just some kind of jackass.
Do you want to do it now?
What's that?
Admit that you're passionate.
I feel like I'm very passionate.
Tell them.
I'm so passionate, Jen. You are so wrong.
Wait, so you guys have known each other for about 5 years then?
Yeah, somewhere around
there. Yeah.
Four plus. Yeah. So you guys meet right around the time I got hurt?
Yeah. I remember.
No, you were not. You're more than 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I got hurt in January
hurt.
2014.
2014.
So it's just 4.5 years about now.
4.5. Oh, well, we were probably closer to 4 years than 5, because it was 2015 when I really started. So yeah, it was after you got hurt.
You didn't start till 2015.
Yeah.
You.
I was
fucking
2010.
freak.
But like
Albany CrossFit.
I was going to the Y, and the weightlifting we were doing in college was like Metcon stuff, and it was loved some of the movements.
Motherfucker, because here's what's depressing.
It's annoying.
You know how long I've been doing this stuff?
I'm fucking saying.
11 years.
That's right.
11 years. 11
understand.
years.
And we're getting old. We're
see?
just it's entropy.
And then I'm
fighting.
I'm competing with all these guys, and I'm like, yeah, man, I was really good at this stuff. I've been doing this for 11 years. How long have you been doing it? I started yesterday. All right, well, fuck you.
I was impressed today because you were doing chest to bars today with one arm.
Yeah, one arm chest to bars.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And multiple people were. It wasn't just you.
Yeah, the whole field was doing. Like, we have women and guys doing one arm chest to bars. There are ladies and gentlemen who are doing like one arm or one leg cleans and swimming with one leg. You have seated athletes who don't have the use of the most of the lower half, and they're throwing around weight and doing pull ups and whatnot. And I like to point out I am the most crippled of the seated athletes. I'm going to use that.
You do like to remind people.
Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Because I'm getting my ass handed to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting my ass handed to me.
You're solidly in fourth place.
Was it the whiskey before the workout that helped?
No, that's good for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's carbs.
Pre-workout.
That's pre-workout.
That's my pre-workout.
It calms down your nervous system.
Slows it down.
Let you focus.
Absolutely.
It's part of the power of the ginger beard.
He actually does bring up a really interesting point, because this year I was fortunate enough where Stouty, let me be the head judge and sort of help.
Hence the whistle.
I have a whistle, so
Head judge whistle.
Reasons.
And it's just been interesting more to not just be kind of being in the stands and rooting and being an advocate and all that shit. It's like you can see the various adaptations. There's still a lot of work to do here. I think that what's happening right now. And I said this to him 3 years ago. You know, we were at a competition, and there's that desire to be competitive, but there's still a lot of work to do to figure out how to make that competition not only fair but also distributable, something that you can replicate and do over again.
And that's what I've always said. Like, I feel like if this kind of fitness competition ever gets into the CrossFit Games, I feel like it needs to grow like the CrossFit Games did. The CrossFit Games weren't
started in a dirt field.
Yeah, the CrossFit Games weren't this big competition that then bred CrossFit. It was CrossFit and this training methodology of people just throwing down together who just got together in a dirt fucking field and decided to throw down. And people were like, that shit's cool.
Yeah, right. It was literally on a ranch.
Right.
Yeah. And it was like, it was community came first, and then like this competition grew out of it. And that was always my biggest fear with this kind of competition, is I was worried that we were pushing the competition too early and not growing the community enough. You know, and I'm not as worried about it anymore, because I really see this huge community stem out of it. Like, we can see more and more people get into this, more and more people diving in, like traveling around, doing the adaptive seminars. I get to meet like a whole bunch of really cool adaptive athletes. So I think the community is present now, and now we just have to, like you said, make sure that it is fair and distributable, like observable, repeatable.
Replicated.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting too on that is kind of going into, 5 years ago when I was first starting running my first gym and kind of, getting my feet wet. Until he walked into my gym, I didn't know what an adaptive athlete was. I didn't really think about it. It was never something that really crossed my mind. And now you're seeing, just in Raleigh, I've seen the explosion of all the gyms becoming part of it and constantly asking us questions. What are you guys doing? How do you handle these things?
The coolest part about it to me is that you have this population of individuals, these adaptive athletes, that for like Logan's a special case, and I was already in this world before I got hurt. But you have this population of individuals, these adaptive athletes, who either since birth or since their injury have been told that they can't. You shouldn't. You can't. You shouldn't. You can't. Don't do this. No, no, no. And now you have CrossFit and this adaptive fitness movement really pushing to be like, fuck that. Yeah, you can, and you should, and you will. And it's, I think what you're seeing is this influx, at least in my gym. I'm sure your gym as well. Like, you see this influx of people who their entire life have been told no. Absolutely. And then you get them in a situation where they're told yes, and you just see this clicks. Like, just this switch just snatch on in their head where they're like, holy shit, I can.
I think it's really important too, and the biggest thing there is gym owners. It's our responsibility to be prepared for that. This
Agreed.
Is a really real thing, and if you're not sure how to do it, that's good, but you have to be an advocate for your own education.
I have kind of a question this is kind of going on something you mentioned earlier, where you said that everybody is somewhat of an adaptive athlete. Like, what do you mean by that? And like, because you said that in even just the Raleigh area, there's been like way more adaptive athletes popping up. Like the people you said like been told no their whole life. But like, what do you mean by like everybody is like somewhat adaptive? And like, kind of going off what Kevin was just saying.
I just think it's sort of the mindset from a coaching perspective to saying that, adaptation is a real omnipresent thing in a day-to-day basis. It's what we're doing. We should be doing that for our athletes. That's what good coaches do. They're aware of their athletes' limitations, physiological, traumatic brain injury, things that always don't present in a normal way. Psychosomatic, people could just be having a really bad day. And you see that as a coach, and it's your responsibility. You don't just brush it off and go, well, fuck that guy. He's having a bad day. It's your job to check in. That's what we do. If this were just the Globo gym, you'd be in and out, and I'd be making my $20 a month. But this is relationships that we're building. That's how our business grows.
It's psychology, like coaching within a CrossFit. Like the big difference I've always thought between the coaching and a CrossFit affiliate, and coaching, and or just personal training in like a 24-hour fitness, is that psychological piece, that actual relationship there. Like, we had this conversation. There's a weird thing with good coaches where you remember things about your clientele, your members, that like no one else remembers about them. Like, they don't even remember these things. And like, they come in, you're like, hey, this happened last week and you lifted this. We should try that again. They're like, oh yeah, that shit was crazy.
Well, you were saying earlier today that you know every single person at your gym's numbers. Like, you know what every person in your gym snatch. Like, you remember those things. about them, or like their Fran time? Like,
Yeah, I would say with like 90% certainty, if any of my members walked up to my gym, I could guess within 5 pounds what their maxes are on almost every lift.
100%. I could do that, and I could probably tell you their history of injuries and things that I should be like thinking about right when they walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, honestly, it's the cool part about it is it's like a very innate feature of the job.
It's a reflex. Like,
yeah,
I don't
even think about
to
it.
do these things.
So you're walking in the door. I'm like, oh, I wonder if his shoulder's still bothering him. You know, I know he had like surgery 5 years ago. You know, like you just remember shit. And I think if you're not really paying attention to your audience, right?
Yeah.
Your people.
Absolutely.
That's being a good coach, good owner, I think. But so I want to go back to
Damn right.
I want to go back to something you're talking about because I think it's
Yes.
I think it's something. It's an interesting discussion to have, and I think it can reveal a lot about the vocabulary we use in this adaptive stuff.
Vernacular.
can you elaborate on that?
Yes.
Like,
This
where are
is
you going with that?
This is where I'm going.
No.
So,
Okay. Podcast over.
so-
See you later. No, but like so. Like,
So here are
vocabulary.
3 categories: adaptive, adapt. Let's say any version of the word, and then modify, and then scale.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
So I'm going to go on record because there's actually the vocabulary that we use within the adaptive course.
Yeah.
Right.
Where modification or modding can be either or. Adaptation or adapting is based off permanent impairment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And scaling is based off of a temporary impairment. You could also interchange the word alterations in there if you wanted to for an overall arching goal. But if it is a basically if it's something you can't do anything about, is an adaptation.
Right.
If it's something that you can do something about, you're scaling. I mean, I think a perfect example of this is something like you're not going to do anything about my spinal cord injury. You're not going to fix that impairment. Whereas, like, technically, being overweight may be an impairment. It may impair you. But there's something you can do about it.
Sure.
Not being strong enough to move the RX weight, that is technically, by definition, an impairment. But there's something you can do about it.
Right.
Whereas we're not going to regrow his arm.
But you could argue
Right.
that, a knee injury causing limited range of motion and movement. Would that be considered?
I would argue that the second, if you have like a knee surgery,
Sure.
my argument would be this: can you do something about the knee?
Sure.
If not, then at that point in time, it's an adaptation. The second you can, the second you're clear to start moving that knee around and start working it out, it's scaling. And I get that semantics, but I think that's a really important distinction between those two things, because if we're not doing anything about it, there's nothing we can do to really decrease those
That's why I bring it up, because
limitations.
Depending on what context you're using, you're right. You could say that when a new person comes in and they're not doing the workout as prescribed, that you are adapting it. Like, that vocabulary by definition is relevant and appropriate to use. But as we speak on it and we try to build the words together, adaptive athlete, you have to start to, and that's why I was so fascinated and intrigued about the seminar and the curriculum as we were developing it, because of this conversation out of them all. Because you have to, it loses its credibility, it loses its value. And it's really cool what the word has become, because it's starting to replace like disabled and handicap, these really negative connotations associated with these words in a lot of ways. And that's cool. I think it's a much better word in that sense. But I think we have to discuss this so that people understand where
I am
the
not
difference
afraid
is,
to be educated. You need to let me know.
No, and that's why he
This
asked.
is good. I'm
do you
glad that we're
consider
doing this.
yourself, because you have an autoimmune?
I do have some issues.
Which could
Yeah.
it's a permanent
It's-
thing. Like you're
Right.
not fixing
It's
this.
not going anywhere.
And potentially, so he may be the only person I've ever met in my entire life that says, "Yeah, I'm vegan," and I'm like, "Good on you, good for you." I mean, he literally may be the only person on the face of the planet that has shut me up in the argument of
I do love
vegan.
meat though.
Yeah, but you don't. You
Oh.
don't eat meat because it causes
Right.
an inflammatory response in your body that
Right.
basically takes away your ability to walk.
Yes. So the research towards my specific condition says
Is there a
that
name for it?
HLA B27 spondyloarthropathy.
I can hold my mic like this.
So you don't hold like that. And the HLA is B27. I guess refers to the chromosome. It's a chromosomatic. I made that word up. It's a chromosome that gets activated through usually an infection, and I had an infection when I was 18 in my body, and that triggered it. And when it did, because of my incredibly unhealthy life and eating and style and not understanding how to eat properly and like what that actually means, and I completely thank CrossFit for that, because it went from not really understanding what health was, like what it meant to be well, and suffering through that for years. I mean, I was at one point taking like 27 pills a day, like different various medications. I got a phone call from my rheumatologist and they're like, hey, this medication's been pulled off the market. Like, you can't take it. And I just said, well, it's working, like it works. And being in chronic pain, like real pain, it's fucking debilitating. So I was like, well, I'm going to take it as long as I possibly can. And I took it until I was out of it. And that basically got me through the, ebbs and flows of prednisone, ups and downs and all that shit. So when it started to come back again, which, I don't lead an unhealthy lifestyle, but, it's easy to make bad eating choices here and there. I would say I was definitely significantly improved in the way that I eat versus when I was 18. But I could feel something coming on, and it started on my right side, and then it moved into my left side. So I knew it was the same thing. So I did some research, and that, eating no meat is a good way to lower the inflammation in your gut down. I think that's a pretty well scientific proven thing. Know that it can cause inflammation. So I just stopped doing it. And that was, I've noticed a very significant change in my body and my condition just by doing it. And I love meat. I intend on going back to eating it someday, but I have to slowly introduce that back into
almost
my
like
diet.
a reset on your, like you're trying to heal the gut and reset everything. I think that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't drink for quite some time. This is more recently kind of getting back to drinking beer a little bit, but
well, it's Molson Canadian. So it's Canadian beer. So it doesn't count.
it's lager. It's cold
So
fermented.
we're not in the same country, so nothing counts here.
But no, so it's just so I completely appreciate the fact that you can clarify that. And I guess maybe my perspective is more like I just look at everybody as an opportunity for me to become better at knowing what they could have wrong with them.
Yeah,
And that's kind of the way I look at it.
It's so we're just talking semantics here. So like people aren't coming in. Basically, people aren't coming in who are like, yeah, I'm adaptive. I'm adaptive,
right,
and you're like,
right.
No, you just
All of a sudden the WheelWod
you're
roster quadruples.
Yeah,
next
you're
year.
just metabolically broken. We can fix that.
We can do that.
Right.
And I think like the way you alter a workout, you may alter the workout. Like say one day like you do something stupid the day before and your elbow's bothering you, and it's your left elbow, and we scale the workout for you, and we adapt the workout for Logan, and it's the exact same fucking thing.
Right.
One arm, like a one-arm sumo deadlift on the
But
right
you're
side.
right. That qualification process of at least knowing what the difference is and what it actually represents is important.
It's
for
a
coach
reason
to know.
it's the reason for
You want
why.
his mic or mine? Take mine.
Just a microphone.
No, have this one.
We can keep going back and forth.
It's the reason
Another beer.
we don't
Yeah, hey,
we don't
sound
have
guy.
anyone.
Where's the say?
Sound guy.
Hey, video crew, grab us a brew.
It's just us.
Yeah, it's just us
no
four.
one in here.
That's the video sound guy.
I'm the video sound guy.
Editor,
And co-host.
producer, co-host. I like literally had this conversation about this podcast. He actually has a little bit of a plan and a little bit of an idea of what he wants to direct the conversation towards. And I just hold a fucking mic and say stupid shit.
Pretty
That's
much.
why it's your pod. You get to do that. That's the way it goes.
Because we were told nothing. We had no prep
We
for
had
this. They
no-
were
Yeah,
just
that was
like, sit down, guys.
We
Yeah.
have preparation H, but no preparation.
Here we are.
Okay, so you talked a lot about adaptive and scaling, but you also put modifying in between there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? Or can you give like an example of like give a workout and give an example of how you would adapt, modify, and scale?
Technically, any kind of change is a modification of the
yeah.
workout. Now, the reason behind that is what's going to determine it being scaling or it being adapting. And we actually really wanted to change that vernacular to alteration, but it's the word modification is already so embedded within the CrossFit community
So embedded.
that trying to change it would have been an uphill battle the entire time, and I think it would have muddied the waters in what we were actually trying to get across. So a workout that's been changed in any way from the RX is technically modified, but are you doing it because of a permanent impairment, or are you doing it because of a temporary impairment? And that in and of itself will change whether that's scaling or it's adapting.
Right. What a great answer.
Yeah,
You
that
can
was-
tell he's done some
Yeah.
seminar
Yeah.
staff seminars,
I
huh?
would also like to point out, just for the viewers, I know the answers to a lot of these questions. I'm just trying to get it out there. Like, I want you to say these things. This is what people need to hear.
Yeah.
So, like,
You know, it would have been better if you pretended you didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah, wait,
Yeah, wait
way to ruin the
He
magic.
doesn't
Yeah.
CrossFit it. He
Hey,
doesn't
why
even
don't
know
you
what it
just tell
means.
people how the magic on TV is done? You know, you want to just ruin tricks for them?
I mean, I coach as well.
Hey,
so, like,
Santa
I
Claus
know
isn't
these
real,
things,
guys.
But
Santa Claus isn't real.
and-
Easter Bunny is not real.
a lot of these
Tooth Fairy's
things,
not real.
Shut up for a second. A lot of these things, like, a lot of coaches are already doing these
Your
things.
parents don't love you.
And they don't necessarily know that they're what they're doing, or like they've never like heard it said before. They're like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. So just for any coaches out there that happen
You're
to
a
be
great
watching.
interviewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thanks. I have a journalism degree.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
shining right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
between me and Nathan, we
You're
have
the
2
first
degrees.
person to tell me that. Mom, Dad, the degree was worth it.
Yep, it's paying off.
So-
Look at this.
Between me and Nathan,
Got
we have
47 views.
2 degrees between me and Nathan.
Yeah,
He has 2.
Separation.
that's good. Oh, good, good. Carrying the weight.
Same university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
So now what do we? Now where do we
So-
go from here?
Oh,
Are we going up?
Any other topic?
well, no. So, can you? Oh no, I guess you kind of talked about how the modifying and stuff like that. What
Let's-
I get. Do you have anything else you want to say about adaptive?
Well,
stuff?
no, I was gonna say we have what 6 more workouts this weekend?
Yeah,
6 more.
I
It's
know.
Saturday and Sunday. We have 3. Do we have 3 tomorrow?
3 tomorrow.
3
yeah.
tomorrow, 3 Sunday.
What
Yeah.
are the workouts that are left, Kevin?
I don't know.
Gosh.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
don't
morning
ask me.
looks like
I
a
don't know.
pretty
I know the
so
first
spicy
one
workout.
I'm
and
gonna
the
be.
second one.
I know one of them. I only know the only one I actually know what
I
I'm
know
doing
them all.
tomorrow is because they announced it
'Cause
tonight
I'm
and
the
I
head
was there and
judge.
present. And it is 20, 15, 10, 5, 35-pound dumbbell deadlifts, 35-pound swing presses.
That's right.
And for this guy, it's 120-pound deadlifts, 120-pound front
Axle
squats,
bar.
axle bar, fat bar.
Fat
Yeah.
bar deadlifts
Yeah.
and fat bar front squats.
Is it axle bar or fat bar? Because those are different.
I don't remember.
Fat bar.
It's a thick millimeter piece of
Well,
metal.
because
big.
an axle bar has no rotation to it. A fat bar will have the same diameter but rotation.
I'm gonna have to vision these
These
don't have
don't
rotation.
rotate.
I think
Then they
there's
would be
sands.
they would be axles.
There's no rotation
Yep.
going on.
And so the reason why he thinks it's really funny to ask me what the workouts are is because in the history of me competing, in the last decade of me doing this stuff, historically, I don't look at the workouts. I just go there, and then right before the workout, they usually brief it, and I listen to it, and I just go out and do the workout because I feel like it's CrossFit. Either I'm going to be able to do it, or I'm not going to be able to do it. And I don't think like sitting there trying to do it again and again is really, or freaking out about it is really worth my time.
The best part about today was the last workout. It was 15, 12, 9 of clean and jerk and ring pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You did not do a single warm-up rep of anything because you didn't want to wheel up the hill to the warm-up area because it was grass. We started and we got to the bottom of the hill and he's like, nah, and just rolled right back around. Didn't do a single warm-up rep. Not the smartest thing to do, but
I mean, it worked out, didn't it?
It was entertaining for me to watch.
I went about as fast as I could in all those movements. Like I don't feel like I didn't waste any energy. I was very.
I think I can speak on both of you guys' behalf because I do think that there's a little bit of a misconnection between the reality of who these guys are and who the perception of what they are. First of all, they're regular bros, so that's pretty important. You setting this place on fire.
Got it. We're good.
And number two, they're fallible. They're athletes. They have weaknesses and they have strengths. And this has been an interesting weekend already to see it. Logan pretty much finished last in the run, right? Pretty close to it.
Because of the
last.
swim.
Yeah.
Second to last because of
Hauled
the
ass.
swim.
Well, he
That's
almost
what-
drowned.
Hauled ass on the run.
We made
Yeah,
some
run
time
was
on the run.
fast. Run was the fastest run ever.
But then you finished first in the next workout. And yesterday, I think you were second or third. So I think it's just interesting to
second
see
in the clean, but third in
the WOD.
First in our hearts.
So what's the best thing we've ever learned from the CrossFit Games?
It's not who wins every workout.
It's the law of averages.
Law of averages.
That's it.
Dude,
You know,
I
Be
don't.
consistent.
I think if you look back at a lot of the competitions I've done, like Wadapalooza, and this since being in a wheelchair, I don't really think I've won anything. I don't win. I'm
No.
just
All you do is win though.
I'm consistently second or third.
That's all you need to be.
Yeah, and it works out well every time.
I mean, unless
That's
you're Matt
what's-
Frazier and then you
that's
just
what's-
win everything.
yeah, right,
Because
yeah.
I'm not going to not win this.
Hold on. Can we mention for a second that he won the Open on accident?
Yeah.
Just think about that for a
Yeah.
second.
That's
Everyone
wild.
else was trying their ass off to do as best they can, and he was legitimately upset that he won the Open because he was purposely trying not to win the Open because he thinks if you win the Open, you're not going to do well.
He was trying to peak later.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you don't want to peak early.
He's like, oh, I think I peaked early. It's
I
like,
mean, I
no,
think-
this guy literally has not peaked and fucking won the Open on accident.
I saw him at
The
regionals.
fuck?
He looked pretty unpeaked. He looked like he still has the rest in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
It was
like-
pretty impressive to see.
In a world, in the CrossFit world, where there's so many athletes that do some of the most ridiculous things I've
Unbelievable.
ever seen in my entire
Unreal.
life, and you have a human being, I don't even think he's human. Fuck that, he's not human. You have
Cyborg.
an individual who beats these freaks of nature
All of
by accident, always.
Well, I
Yeah.
will say, he was definitely putting in 100%
Yeah.
no matter what.
It's
Oh,
just,
yeah,
it's,
like
just it's work
I'm
That's
gonna
ethic.
just
show
a
up and I'm gonna,
competitor.
yeah, and that's
Like I
Yeah.
joke about
Yeah.
that all the time where I'm like, guys, I'm just gonna half-ass this
Yeah.
one, and then someone says 3, 2, 1, go, and I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna half-ass.
Oh, I
this
mean,
one.
I'm still gonna cruise at like 80% sometimes, but
Like I was joking around, like going 80% on that ski rig, and then someone said 3, 2, 1, go, and then I noticed I didn't know where Jed was, but I knew Jed was right next to me, and it looked like he was going harder than I was, and I was like, oh well, fuck it, I guess we're going for it.
Gotta go.
I like going back to the Fraser thing for a second because a lot of people think CrossFit's like being jack of all trades. Like that's a lot of people go into with that mindset. And there was an interview with Fraser. I think it was one of the CrossFit documentaries where he goes. They asked him what his biggest weakness was, and he goes, "I worked all year not to have a weakness." And I think that's the mindset. Like that's the healthy mindset to go into this with. Like that's just
See, that's another reason why I don't look at the workouts, because I don't give myself that chance to like have self-doubt. You tell me the workout, and the only thing I can think of between the time you announce the workout, which I'm going to do in 5 minutes, and do the workout, is figure out a strategy and just fucking do it. Like I don't have time to be like, shit, I suck at this.
I'm a big
it's gonna
fan
be
of
hard.
if I can test a workout before a competition.
Oh, you
Because-
historically do better.
Yeah, I mean,
almost always
Statistically speaking, there's
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Kevin is advocating for,
right.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
do,
not. It's not the
probably.
And that's what
Probably.
that goes back
He's
to the point.
unique.
These guys are fallible. They're human beings.
Yeah, right.
they're
I also
not cyborgs.
I also feel that after 10 or 11 years of competing within the sport, if I don't hear a workout and automatically know what I'm going to do and know if it's a strength or a weakness, like that's on me for not paying attention for the last decade.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Like I get it with a lot of these athletes who are like newer, like 2-3 years,
But I
1
guess the
year
bigger
in.
question is, are you still having fun?
That's all I do.
Then that's all that really
Like
matters,
Exactly.
right?
like literally all I do
Right.
is talk shit. The
But
entire
you guys
time.
are really, you're the pioneers, right? So if we look, let's just use the Olympics as an example, right? Like the Paralympics, they weren't always there. That wasn't always something that existed. And it took enough athletes and enough of a following to say, all right, it's time that we do something and we actually create a forum for these folks to compete. And CrossFit's going to see, they've already put the adaptive seminar into it. They're making that an integral part of training. I think it's important for all coaches and all gyms to be prepared for that, to understand what it means, to know what it means to work with these athletes, and then stepping that into the next 10 years, because it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of loopholes. You go into the Olympics, you get classified. There's a lot of classifications. So it's going to be time.
Oh yeah,
But it's- you guys are
classification
pillars.
categories like
Yeah.
like how many categories is too many categories? How many is too few?
Right.
Is it going to be financially feasible to have more than X amount of calories or categories?
You're back
Is-
on that bike, on
yeah.
that ski erg.
And I had something like ski erg. Is it going to be something that people want to see? Because I mean, bottom line, and this is one of the reasons why I think Greg Glassman has always historically said that like the CrossFit Games is not his favorite part of CrossFit. In fact,
No
it's probably
way.
his least favorite part
It's
of
the
the
guy who
CrossFit.
beats diabetes.
It's the guy who beats diabetes
For
and learns
sure.
how to ties his shoe for the first time, and yeah.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, the CrossFit Games is marketing and it's a business, and it
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be. And people are like, why don't CrossFit do it right now? I'm like, well, they would lose their shirt. Like it would not bring in enough money for it to be worth their time. And people are like, well, they should do it anyway, even though it's not worth their time. I'm like, really? Should they? I don't think they should. I think it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
that's one of my biggest things of that argument of like CrossFit should do this and this, and it's like CrossFit is a privately owned company. They don't have to do shit. Right. Like they can do whatever they want.
Let's bring in the adaptive division so we lose all the money that ever goes into the CrossFit Games and have to cancel the CrossFit Games. And then no one gets to be at the CrossFit Games. And I think eventually, we'll have enough athletes and enough situations where people are going to want to pay to see adaptive athletes do this shit because it's insane what some of these guys can do.
And it's just going to take time to get there. It's getting there. Like this weekend, like the amount of people the able-bodied athletes who finished right before you guys, the amount of people that stayed to watch was awesome. Like there was quite a few people who stayed.
Not to mention not just the spectators, some of the athletes.
Yeah.
Which is I noticed it, but there were some athletes that stayed to watch this, which I think is even cooler because, in all honesty, as an athlete, you finish an event and you kind of get the hang out of there. Like you hang out with your buds for a little bit, but like you're going to recover and eat and take care of yourself. And some of those athletes who are competing this weekend stuck around to watch.
Yeah. Look, how many when you did your first adaptive competition?
What was that, by the way? Real quick.
Yeah, was that WZA?
Was that Wadapalooza?
My first adaptive,
like where you were in a competition with other adaptive athletes.
Was the what was it called? The River Ruckus in Asheville.
That's right.
And there was an adaptive division.
It was very
small.
small.
Crossroads was there. That's where I met Dom Davila and who else did I know?
But how many?
Team some required that whole crew. It's
how
where I met all
many?
them. But it was literally my first competition.
How many athletes
2 months
were
into
in your
CrossFit.
division?
Yeah, we were all competing together. I was
right.
Competing against the leg guys.
Okay.
And
so how many athletes are in your division right now?
And now, gosh, I mean, this is all narrowed down.
They took the top 6. I think we ended up having 300 athletes across the world.
Yeah. And this was all through. This is all a qualification process. You're all here because you did a complete open, and then an online qualifying regional, as we called it, and then here just
narrowed down to what we have. 30 athletes out of we literally the top 10%, 9 countries.
I will tell you right now, for anybody who has made it this far into this podcast and you're still listening,
kudos.
Good on you. Number 2, I strongly challenge you to test these workouts as written, and I fucking because I have been doing them. Mm-hmm. They are not easy.
I love having my athletes do seated workouts.
I mean, they really are not. What are you saying?
I love having my athletes do seated workouts.
Oh, dude, for sure. Absolutely.
Mainly just for my enjoyment to watch them suffer. But it's also for their benefit, I guess.
Isn't that kind of 20% of coaching also?
Yeah. It's sadism, yeah.
Oh, sorry that hurts. Let me go make a cup of coffee and watch that hurt more for a little while. Am I the weird one? Did I make that weird?
I mean, I was just trying to figure out how I can make that like a sex joke, to be honest with you.
So you mentioned is there 3 categories that are here this weekend? Can you walk us through the different categories?
We have seated men and women. We have upper impairment men and women.
And what does that encompass?
I'm here.
Everything. If you have a for seated, if you do the majority of your work from a seated position, you're in our category with if you have a impairment within your lower limbs. The upper category is any kind of physical impairment to the upper limbs, or it could even be technically a non-physical impairment that manifests in physical nature. Loss of the limb, like amputees. We have a couple of amputees. We have some what's called BPI, which is like nerve disorders.
Plexus injury of the nerve to the arms, paralysis of the limb.
Basically paralysis of the limb, and then you also have some dropping down there, and then you have a lower our lower standing athletes, which can be anything from, I think we have some CP in there. We have amputees. We have one of the girls in that category had a virus attack her brain, and now has basically it's almost like just randomly onset vertigo, where she loses balance and just falls over.
So
everything.
So 3 categories.
3 categories.
Is what it's broken into.
For right now, yeah, I think that's what it's going to be.
Well, and the cool part about that, to go a little bit further to explain the scoring, is and this is the cool part to me. This is what I meant in the beginning when I talked about how exciting it was, how competitive it is, and the points matter, because we've created through time and tremendous trial and error, multipliers and ways to better understand standards for the difference in the standing lower between a below knee amputee and an above knee amputee. There is a direct difference in output between those two levels of amputation, and we've developed multipliers. Same for the upper division for me, which is really cool to watch as this playing field is very competitive. The difference between myself and, as you would assume, like Victor, who is a BPI, so his arm's paralyzed, and on the surface we're the same. We're in a subcategory of upper that is called single arm athletes. So we do most all things with the barbell, 1 point of contact and all this stuff. But when there's 2 points of contact, but you're still missing a limb, or for instance, Victor and I on pull-ups, he can't put a band under his arm. So we have a percentage that we adjust the time, if it's time-based workout, for his pull-ups because they take longer because they're single-armed. And these are cool, minute calculations we're playing with, I guess you would say, right now.
I'll be honest with you. Chris Stoutenberg, the guy who's running this event and runs most of the adaptive stuff right now and is also on staff with us. I think
his brain's probably on fire right now.
His brain's probably going to explode. I don't know how he does
marshmallow mush.
But what I'll tell you is that he has a lot of data and trial and error on.
A lot of trial and error,
but has specific numbers and calculations on time domains, time frames, power outputs, and the like between for uppers points of contact. So do you have 1 point of contact or 2 point of contact on whatever you're moving, and then for lowers, basically how many joints are being replaced and or affected. And within that, there's a lot of God, he's talked about it with me before, where the amount of data and the amount of time and the amount of thought that's gone into these numbers that we have multipliers for or changes in weights for. I think a lot of people think that they're random, and if people knew how not random they were, their heads might explode.
Yeah, it's definitely data driven, and that's a cool part about it.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about, because today the workout, the one you guys did with the clean and jerk and pull-ups, I saw I think 3 different weights out on the field. Can you explain what the 3 weights were and like what categories they fell under? Because I know I saw like a 135, I saw a 105.
Yes,
out there.
yeah. For the upper, those were the options for that workout. The clean and jerk weight was 135. For single arm athlete, SAA as they call it, it was 105. So that's simply the difference in point of contact.
So like perfect example. So Logan's right next to a guy named Casey Ackrey, which is a freak of nature.
That's actually
freak of
good.
nature, and he was doing 135 because he utilizes.
Who did a 300-pound squat clean?
Yeah, 300-pound squat clean with
after incredible
Helen
with rowing.
So Helen on wheels.
So he
300-pound squat clean.
He is a below elbow.
He still has the
amputee.
elbow.
So he still has the elbow. So he uses a strap as a second point of contact, and then catches the bar on his shoulders, and then actually uses his residual limb and his sound limb
300-pound squat
to jerk it overhead. Which I know, like he has a 245-pound snatch.
That's
that.
Yeah,
Hold on,
I can't. I mean,
yeah.
Those. You're out of my numbers.
Fuck that guy.
You're out of my world.
And so he did 135 because he had 2 points of contact throughout the entire movement. Logan was at 105 because he goes right arm only from ground to shoulder to overhead because of the metabolic nature of the workout. And what we found is that percentage drop from 2 points to 1 point of contact creates a similar stimulus, and that's really what we're trying to get out of this workout is maintaining the stimulus of the workout across the board and maintaining that power output too.
So by points of contact, you mean he has 2 hands? So 2 points of contact. Alec, what's his name? Correct.
Casey.
Sorry, I don't know why I said
Casey had a strap in his hand.
So he had 2 points of contact
points
on the
contact.
barbell. You're using one arm, so you have 1 point of contact.
Right.
Can you explain to me then how the multiplier works, or how that gets factored in?
What we have found, basically kind of like you would do for like the dumbbell, like going from a barbell to a dumbbell, where you take 10% off whatever the weight is, and then divide it by 2, and that's what each dumbbell is supposed to weigh. Anywhere between 5 to 15%. Actually,
so if you're going to do a dumbbell Fran versus a barbell Fran,
you take anywhere between 5 to 15% off of that, based on what you want the stimulus to be, and then you divide that by 2, and that's what dumbbell should be in each of your hands. Very similarly to that is that if we're looking at 1 point of contact to 2 point of contact, you're going to take a very similar approach to it, and that weight is basically going to be I think it was a 15% decrease, a 10% decrease.
Yeah,
15% decrease from 2 points of contact to 1 point of contact. Similar, and what we found is that once again keeps people moving at the same pace, and the difficulty there stays almost identical, and it comes from a few years of study being like, okay, well, what if we did this? What if we tried these weights? What if we tried these weights? And just noticing whether or not they were going to stay close.
What I love is, so this is my second year coming out, and he's done every one of these workouts. He's done most of them multiple times, and he'll come back and be like, yeah, we tested it this way, and, this didn't really work, so we tried this, and, and it was the same conversation that we had last year. We tried this workout this way, and that didn't really work. And, I think the great part, too, is he'll be the first one to be like, well, that one got a little dickered. That really wasn't.
That one
That was a little sideways.
On that one.
Sorry about that.
So I'm really sorry about that.
But a lot of times I've heard sorry here.
Yeah, just a bunch of Americans sitting in Canada
making bad jokes about Canadian accents.
Wishing I had some poutine.
Poutine.
French fries and gravy.
So I mean, it's been really cool to watch these numbers evolve. There are other things like points of contact for the lowers for things like squats that'll change based on where the amputation is at. So like range of motions may change based on that for the sake of safety and even the capacity to make those kind of things work.
I got a kind of a question for both of you to sort of maybe kind of bounce back off, but so, we go back, 4 or 5 years. You've been in your place for 4 or 5 years. We're kind of at a sort of an inception stage of things. So where do you guys more specifically wish the next 5 years goes?
I was gonna,
Because I'm curious about that. This is a different, I can be the coach and I love doing all of it, but I'm still not that person. I don't know what it's like to be that person. So I'm just curious. You guys are pillars for this, where do you want it to go?
I have a short and simple answer to you. Do you want to go first or do you want to go second?
Is it just up?
No, you go ahead.
So my short and simple answer is that I want this to be commonplace. That's it. Like right now it's a specialty to have adaptive athletes in your gym. It is a specialty to have an inclusive class where adaptive athletes work out with able-bodied athletes. It is a niche market. It is something that people aren't used to seeing. And my hopes, my dreams for the next 5 years is to change that so fucking completely that you walk, roll, hobble, cartwheel into a CrossFit gym, and it is nothing to see someone like Logan throwing down in a class. It is nothing to see someone like, to put it even simpler, I would love within the next 5 years to not a single fucking person in the CrossFit community know who the fuck I am.
Not in a negative.
Not in a negative way.
Yeah,
but
Yes,
so
bold
many,
statement. But yeah.
but so many people have far outshadowed and surpassed anything I've ever done, that the only credit to my name is that I'm on the seminar staff. Like, just people know me from teaching the seminar. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've even seen that just through, when I took my original L1, and I still remember those guys, and, unfortunately retaking it because I, waited too long and didn't register for the L2, which would have made more sense, but I'm taking the L2 next weekend. So
You're pretty. You're pretty.
I am. But, yeah, I've seen those faces again, but sort of that dissolving of the community expanding so much. So maybe just seeing, it's not that you dissolve, it's that your community just continues to grow outward.
There's always going to be someone that comes behind you and does something better or more impressive than you. And
that's why I love this sport.
And I love it. Like,
yeah, me too.
Like, I made the statement earlier, like, Jed, who historically I've beat at every single competition we've done together, is fuck stomping me right now. And I think some people expect me to be upset about it, and I'm just fucking pumped. Like, that is so cool to see Jed work so hard and just smash my face. Like, I don't like losing. I'll be honest about that. But I'm as happy as I can be for someone else to come in and do that.
It's one of those things, you've been in this so long, and I've seen you try to, since your injury, I've been there pretty much the whole time, and it's just you want to see this advance into something else. And so eventually, people have to overtake you for that to happen. And Jed's doing that this week. Jed's the perfect example this weekend of
Plus,
that happening.
I just want to retire. So knowing that the sport of adaptive fitness is in the hands of people that not only are freaks of nature athletically, but freaks of nature and their compassion and in their like honorability and their virtuosity of the sport, like that's my concern. There's always gonna be freak athletes, but one thing I love about CrossFit the most is that it's the competitors. The competitors are different. You don't have sports where competitors finish and then go cheer for someone else. You don't have competitors who will no rep themselves, literally cost themselves a competition because they held themselves to a standard. You don't have that in other sports, and we have that within CrossFit. And so I think my other biggest worry about this sport of adaptive fitness is losing that, to have athletes who will get away with something if they can, to shorter range of motion as long as the judge doesn't notice it. And what we've seen within the CrossFit Games is athletes who do that are not successful. But athletes who hold themselves to that standard, higher standard, they are successful. And so having athletes come in behind me, hold themselves to that standard, still have fun, still be good people, and be freaks of nature when it comes to the athletic side of it, I could not be happier with the people that are in the sport right now.
Yeah, I've been around you long enough that like any of these competitions, like you don't really comment on the people necessarily who are winning heats. You more so are commenting on the people like, do you see that person shorting those reps over there? Like, which that's the coach, that's the trainer inside of you coming out. But like, you're more concerned, in my mind, I see you talk more about the virtuosity of the sport than the people standing out and coming in first every heat.
Absolutely.
So
one of the most impressive things I ever saw was the first year at Wadapalooza with Steph Harriman, where she didn't do a rep, and the judge goes, "Good rep," and she looks at the judge and goes, "No, that's not a rep." She goes, "No, it's fine," and Steph goes, "No, that's not a rep," and then continue to do her reps, and every single time it wasn't a rep. She was like, "That's not a rep. That's not a rep," and that to me, like, that speaks volumes about people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you want the special treatment.
Yeah.
I take credit for the no reps.
So I completely agree with everything he says. Incredible answer.
Air quotes.
And, definitely have a similar perspective on where I hope it goes in the next years in that regard. But what has been exciting for me and where I hope it continues to go, and it's along the lines of everything Kevin just said, but it's the empowerment and the platform for it to be legitimized and for it to be more commonplace for athletes to be in most gyms. But it's also where I like to have some fun is on the innovation, idea creation, equipment creation side of things that are empowering and enabling within the sport for these athletes too. Like the first time I configured what is now, a mono rope, like in jumped rope, that was the coolest feeling in the world
stick.
for me. Yeah,
and a
lacrosse
jump rope
shaft
and some duct tape.
with some tape, yeah. Because the open was happening.
Came in and he's like,
I was
he comes
oh my
in,
God, you have
this
to
is so
jump
funny.
rope.
So he wanted to do all the open workouts.
This was
16?
No, this was 15, I guess. It was right when I started.
So, all right, we're gonna figure this shit out. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the jump rope workout came in, and he's like, he came into the gym. He's holding this fucking lacrosse stick with some tape on it. He's like, I had this idea, and I jumped a few ropes in the old driveway there, and it seems to work out. So we're gonna give him the old college try.
Yeah.
And then shit couldn't have been 2 weeks later. He was cranking double unders out like a lunatic.
Which isn't typical.
No, it took me like a year to be able to do any double unders.
To me, like the whole approach when
People
I
get
started
so annoyed at him with
was
the double unders.
exactly my mind, and what I loved and was fascinated by CrossFit was stimulus, like what the whole idea of a prescribed workout, and there is an intention and a stimulus behind it and a purpose. And I came in and I could notice that. Like I was familiar with what squatting 50 times would do to your heart rate. Like I was familiar with what 10 burpees does to your heart rate. Like I've been doing that sort of stuff in the gym at the Y. And so then it was really cool to see how it was orchestrated together and what that intention was. And for me to think, how do I achieve that same thing one-armed? And all from the barbell stuff to the kettlebells and the stubborn side of me, which maybe, and thank goodness I had prepared my body throughout just being an athlete to do this, but I just started doing the weights that was prescribed anyways.
So
I would just do the weight that John was doing anyways.
He's like, what's the WOD,
shouldn't.
bro? And I'm like, oh, it's like this gnarly, fucking. And he's like, all right, I'm just gonna do what you're doing. I'm like, And then it got into a point where it was, 2 years into training with him, and like he's beating me at my own workouts. I'm like, what the fuck?
I think that,
So
and
actually
I definitely
what John did
felt
was
a different
was
stimulus.
just program left side only workouts.
Yeah, it's fun. And then just to play devil's advocate too, I would do one arm workouts with him.
Yeah.
And obviously he would beat me. You see, where I really win is muscle ups.
Yeah.
I just program muscle ups or handstand push ups,
I
and
don't
I'm
get,
good on it.
Yeah, you're right.
No
You're right.
reps.
So here's the real question: do people just get so annoyed and pissed at this guy until he flashes those pearly whites? Like, 'cause that's how I feel it would go.
It's
Oh
really
my
fascinating in our gym. We have an incredibly open and just very spirited community of people. Like, everybody knows each other. Even if they're not in the same like friend circles, they're still friends and friendly, and And sometimes, I'm trying to coach class, and he's in the back doing some fucking Insta video incredible thing that he does. You know what I'm talking about? And I can't even get the attention of the people because they're just watching them. And I'm like, listen, you can see it on Instagram in like 2 hours. It'll be up there in like 2 hours.
I feel like he would annoy a lot of people because people are like, oh, I'm really struggling with this. And Logan's like, well, let me just show you how to do it one arm.
Well, I will tell you this. To his credit, I will tell you this. He is incredibly aware of tactile cueing. He understands dynamic body movement. And if he sees somebody doing something and he can help them, it doesn't matter if he's coaching. He'll stop and be like, hey.
That just sounds like a good coach.
Right. So that's what it really kind of turns out to be. And a lot of no one's even ever said a single word about you having one arm and coaching.
That's
they
what
love
I mean.
when you coach.
That's
dude.
what I mean. I don't know that.
love
I
having
know
you
you
coaching
say, yeah, they might. I might distract some people sometimes.
He's a
when
little
talking,
distracting because
and I'm dropping the barbell.
120-pound dumbbell snatch.
Yeah.
Dude,
But
you could clean clothes on his abs.
I wouldn't say like on the feel of our community. I wouldn't say they treat me or view me as a
there's
guy
no
with
special
one
treatment
arm
in our
or
gym.
as a guy as like,
exist.
oh,
that's why I want gyms to get to.
Yeah, there's
right,
no.
exactly.
I mean, there's no.
That's what that is, and it's
'Cause
cool.
I feel like at our gym, it's not like, oh, there's Kevin the adaptive athlete doing things.
He walked into my gym for the first time, and he was wearing Nanos. And I was like, well, you're wearing Nanos. You must understand CrossFit. Come in, dude.
Yeah,
Let's
he's like,
roll.
oh, cool shoes, bro. How long you been CrossFitting? Like, I just started. You got the Nanos, so you done good. Let's
You
go.
must know what you're doing. Come on in. And then the rest was history.
That's like to kind of talk about like that toward like when you said you want this to be commonplace, like it's just commonplace now. Like, yeah, this guy with one arm is teaching me how to snatch. Yeah. And that's kind of now like people walk into Kevin's gym. It's like they don't think twice about the fact that a guy in a wheelchair is teaching them to squat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They do make jokes about it because it's funny.
We all
funny.
do.
Yeah,
And they're
it's
great
hilarious.
jokes. Yeah.
So
Kevin's always below parallel.
Yeah, always. Live life below parallel, baby.
You gotta understand something. Apart from like handstands, like he can do everything else in the gym. So
Dude, I've seen him do handstand push-ups. Don't fuck around with me. I've seen
the
him
first
do it.
time he climbed a rope, you should have seen the looks of these people. Were like, why can't I climb a rope?
Right.
What the hell's wrong with me? I'm like, you're asking the wrong question.
And trust me, and that's I'll be the first to admit, yeah, I don't do handstand walks. I don't do muscle ups.
No.
I can do bar muscle ups.
Boom.
But yeah, cool,
Yep,
I can do
I've
it.
done it. It's
And
pretty
that's
cool.
that's great.
But you do it very often.
No,
No.
exactly. The point
It's
I
a
want to
circus
make
trick.
is, a tremendous
Risk and
amount
return.
of diminishing returns
Yeah.
on the longevity of doing that. Why would I? It's cool to know I can, and I emphasize this a lot when talking with other one-arm athletes because they think there's there's always more to do and you can always learn more and progress, and you absolutely can. But there's some movements that are just unsafe. Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah,
Why?
well, it's kind of like cool. Like you can snatch 245, but then like it's more impressive to me. Like how fast can you move 135 30 times?
Right,
Like,
right.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna get more
I
returns.
get being
out
an
of that.
athlete, and I get you do make sacrifices to be the best in a sport. Always, that's the reason professionals exist. But I think it's important to know that as adaptive athletes, it doesn't mean you have to then go be competitive. You
Well,
can still just work out to
And
have
have fun. Like, that's
a
what I wanna
long
do.
life and
That's
stay
me.
out of the retirement or stay out of the assisted living and just
Absolutely. I
live-
think a lot of times they see these athletes that are on the InstaWorld's face pages and whatnot doing these ridiculous things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, here's what I always thought was funny. If you have like a professional athlete like say a hockey player, do something ridiculous, or I don't care what kind of athlete it is, but these professional athletes do these ridiculous things and it gets put out to the public. I feel like the percentage of people who will try that is very low. But then you have this adaptive community and I think it comes back to the people being told no their entire lives, and now they're finally getting told yes. And I think it can get a little dangerous because people see these athletes doing these crazy things on the interwebs, and they're like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a shot. And you're like, no, you should not. You definitely should not.
Just like everything or athlete,
you know
there's
people,
progression. There's,
there's
ways to get to that, and that can get lost quickly.
A good example is a good friend of ours, Zach Rule. Like, I love Zach. He's a freak of an athlete.
He's a
the things that kid can do are things that I don't think will ever be replicated.
No,
ever.
Yeah,
like he's just an animal.
Yeah.
And I always get asked because people
he also has the longest arms of any human being ever.
And I always get asked, like, why don't you flip upside down and walk on your hands in your wheelchair? I'm like, well, cause fuck you. That's why. That's the major region. Like, he can do it safely. He can do it under control, and he
but he also has the entire use of his lower body.
Well, the lower body, it's there. He doesn't have much of it, but he has the use of all of his abs, and he can control it down. Like, it's safe for him to do.
Right.
Him doing muscle ups in his chair actually make them easier for him.
Yeah.
Because it gives him a counterbalance.
I think the general public, even within CrossFit, definitely, if there's anything in the world of adaptive in these three categories we talk about, they don't get the difference with the seated and the injury level and how much that changes.
And I get asked all the time,
everything.
why don't you do muscle ups in your wheelchair? I'm like, well, because I already have one spinal cord injury. I'd really not like to have a second.
Right. Like,
and
there's so many other factors that are going into that.
Can I do a single muscle up in my wheelchair? Probably.
Right.
Am I going to? Fuck no.
Right.
The funny thing is, I've heard him use that same excuse to do things. I'm like, Kevin, you shouldn't do that. Like, why? My back's already been broken. Like, you use the same excuse on both sides.
Main point there. I do what I want.
But you do it safely, and you were kind of touching on it for a little bit, and like you've kind of talked about like where you want to take your careers. Like, you're now training more for longevity versus the fact of like you don't necessarily want to win a competition.
I just fucking love CrossFit, man. Like,
yeah.
You know what is the most fun thing to me is rolling into the gym, hopping in the class, having some other coach tell me what to do, like just hitting a workout with people around me, going around, high-fiving, slapping hands, finishing the workout with everyone. Everyone's like fucking bacon sizzle on the ground. Like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to push myself around anywhere, and just sharing that with everyone else. It is so much less fun to me to be a competitive CrossFitter. So much less. Because you turn it into a job.
I'll tell you what, though.
And it's not as much fun at all.
I absolutely love training competitive athletes. I do. I absolutely love it.
I'm the opposite.
I
think they're prima donnas coming from someone who was one.
Yeah, no, I just love the mindset. I love the intensity. I love being able to engage what I know can work for an athlete and can give them the positive returns that they're looking for, and doing it in a way that gives them growth in a intelligent way that won't get them injured. It's great. I love it because you're talking about sport and you're being a part of it. And we have a few really competitive athletes in our gym, and it's a pleasure to train them. I mean, I love training every single one of my athletes every single day. There's no question about it, but it's always been kind of fun to just see that fire, that intensity. Somebody walks in, and it happens too. It's sometimes one of your athletes will walk in for class, and it's one of those workouts that they just know they're gonna ace. Like, they love it. It's their movements.
I love that.
And they just walk in, and they're like, I cannot wait. And they crush it. They do everything, and you're like, that's awesome. Like, they know what they're good at. They know how to pace it. They did everything that we've talked about in terms of finding stimulus and understanding movement, and it all comes together, and you're like, I did it. We did this. You are awesome. This has been a really fun experience.
That's the best.
Now go get me a Fit Aid, please.
Shameless plug.
Love it. That's what I am.
This guy.
Can you wear any more Fit Aid clothes? Do you have Fit Aid underwear? Is that a thing?
Oh, I can't show you those.
I mean, you can.
I mean, sure. Like, we have an explicit rating.
Fit Aid, banana
I keep forgetting
hammocks.
to put that on.
We don't have explicit rating. Keep your pants on.
Well, I've been meaning to turn it on.
Is it going to turn into that kind of a thing?
Well, I mean, we've said fuck a couple times.
So I'm pretty sure if he takes his pants off, that's going to turn on anything and everything out there.
It'll turn on. Yeah, that's right.
I got a question for you, John, because you just talked about how you love training like the higher level athletes and stuff. Like that feeling of you get where like somebody comes in and just crushes a workout. Do you get the same feeling if somebody comes in and scales a workout but crushes it in that sense? Like, so,
oh my God, yeah.
like, so maybe it's not like necessarily training like a top level athlete, but just somebody getting the point of the stimulus.
Yeah, there's like it's kind of my mentality on any workout that we do is RX is your RX. You know, that mindset of saying, oh, you didn't do it, how is it? It's arbitrary. You know, we set those barriers so that we understand how to create a baseline. I'm for that. I think it's great. But people get so caught up in that, you know, that construct where they're losing sight of the development of it all. And if you get to help somebody understand the development of it all, where you go through these stages of growth and you go through these different stages of movement and movement pattern and development, and it's, you know, there's your journey. This is how you're going to do it. And they do it and they follow it. And then you see that progress, you know, it starts with a 15-pound bar, starts with a PVC pipe, goes to a 15. Next thing you know, they're 6 months in, they have 55 pounds on the bar for a 95-pound RX. And then all of a sudden they're coming to you and they're going, hey, I RX my first workout today.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
it's such
so
a cool, unique experience and such a psychological advancement for the athlete and for the coach, where you kind of grow together, and that's how that camaraderie and that community really grows. It's that development is both an athlete and a coach, and it doesn't matter how long you've been coaching. Like that development happens every single day.
I love it when people accidentally RX things.
Yeah,
you ever
they
had
didn't
those?
realize.
Yeah.
Where like I had an athlete the other week where she's fairly new, but she's never RX'd anything, but she's fucking a wicked athlete, and we're doing a deadlift workout. And I was like, and she like had the weight she thought she needed on the bar. I was like, oh, I think you can go a little heavier. So she went a little heavier, and she's like, yeah, it felt pretty good. Can I go a little bit heavier? I go, yeah. Let's add the 5s on there. And she goes, okay, cool. I think I can handle that. Fucking crushes the entire workout. Well, I didn't know she had grabbed a guy's bar. So she actually not only RX the workout, but
RX
plus the workout, and then not only RX the workout, had one of the top times on that workout for the day. Even though before that workout she had told me that she didn't think she could RX it because the weight was too heavy.
That's awesome.
And then see her walk over to the board and recognize what she had just done. Like, it just changed her training in the last couple of weeks.
And how does that make them, you know, they leave the gym feeling not just better about what they accomplished, but what it took to get there, right? Like, and that's appreciation of work. And then it's like, okay, now I understand how to set another goal. I can conceptualize what it means to put that goal in front of me now. I did Grace at 95 pounds and I want to go to 105, or I want to go to 115, and I want to stay in that, and I understand how I want to do that and what that means. And that's year over year. That's why, like, in our culture in our gym is fitness for life, not fitness for now. So when we talk about how to modify or scale or you know, adapt your workout to appropriately hit the stimulus that's set for the day, they understand the progression of that. And it's awesome. It's just been such a cool thing.
I just love hearing other gyms out there doing that.
Oh, every day, man. Every day. Some days
gives me the tinglies.
Some days you just do fun stuff for fun. But it's always targeted. It's always got, what's your stimulus? What's the approach? Why are we here? What are we doing?
Why are we doing this?
Yeah. What's the point?
That's I just kind of talk about, like, as a coach. Actually, this is kind of just a fun. Everybody here coaches. Like, for me, like, I don't really, not that I don't care that somebody like snatches 225 or something for the first time, where they've got 4 wheels on there. Like, that's awesome to see. But like, one of my like biggest feelings of accomplishment as a coach was, there was this one day, it was a toe to bar workout, and I think I got 3. I was coaching the entire evening, and I think I ended up getting 3 people to it clicked. Kipping toes to bar, where they weren't double kipping anymore. Like, it was like I got one person each class. Like, for me, I got more of a feeling of accomplishment from just one of those people than getting somebody to hit 225.
Dude, it's the best.
Yeah. Do you guys have like another? We've talked about adaptive and stuff, and I feel like now I just want to have some fun with the podcast a little bit. Like, do you guys have an example of like something like that, like a weird one-off thing where like this clicked with somebody? And it just, like, that feeling of accomplishment that comes there. I know it's kind of a loaded question.
My best one is actually still adaptive. We have a guy at the gym, Chris Brock, the Brock Star, Brachiosaurus Rex, Brock Lobster.
It's 3 nicknames.
Lots. He has more. When he came in, he's like, I don't do floor transfers. And I said, fuck off.
Is he in a wheelchair?
He's in a wheelchair.
Okay, so I wanted to clarify. He
I
rolled
don't
in a
do
wheelchair,
either.
stood up, got out of the wheelchair.
And I was like, "You son of a bitch!" No, he's a T10 paraplegic, and he's like, "I don't do floor transfers." And I go, well, "We're gonna fucking change that." And so we spent some time, and he was really struggling with it. He was getting really frustrated. And then one day he came in, and he just fucking transfers, like didn't even think about it, just got back in his chair. And I think it shocked him because all of a sudden he sat up and you saw him like look around, like, did someone touch me? Was there someone picking? How did I get in this chair? And then proceeded to do like a whole workout that involved floor transfers in that same day. And you just saw the capacity for him to get up off the ground, which I think is fundamentally what humans need to be able to do. Like, you saw that click in his head, and it was one of the coolest things in the world to me.
Yeah, I think as an adaptive athlete, and when you get to work with someone else to a similar impairment as you, to coach them as a coach, you get tremendous.
Would you coach them as something else?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and instead of as an athlete, like coaching them from an athlete perspective, like break this up
You're
this way,
the guy. This is what we're
approach
gonna
it
do.
like this. No, instead working on their technique of a clean or how they use the mono rope, those sorts of wins, those sorts of moments where you have a breakthrough are incredible, and the most rewarding, heartfelt, because it's that idea of, I never thought I could do this, first of all, and now they can, and so that's cool. But that also is very common in the general way of coaching athletes in a normal class. A cue that I use a lot, and where I feel it happens the most with that sort of breakthrough, is drawing elbows for a clean, is drawing big C's with your elbows. Like, thinking about,
What a great cue.
like, I used to hear,
Such a great cue.
it was back at the old gym. Like, I saw it a lot, and that's when I came up with it and taught one class, and every single person's clean improved on how far they shot their elbows under to get into the front rack.
I'm gonna fucking steal that.
It's a great
Yeah.
one.
The big pull, they're up. Okay, now draw a massive C, and it worked. It clicked, and I continued. And I use that one all the time.
Use it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, so that's one that, like,
It's a great.
I can't say one example, but
that's
amongst
coaching.
many,
That's how you do it.
that's a great one.
You do it other.
Yeah.
Nothing's new.
No.
Everything's stolen.
Of course,
Right.
yeah. I'm sure I heard it,
But I can tell you
on a
for
YouTube video
sure.
or something, and
There's my two favorite things to. There's three parts. My two favorite things to be a part of, and then my one thing to just know that somebody got better at personally as a coach. The first two are more specifically for women. Women tend to have so much more emotion in their celebrations, so that's always a lot more fun to watch. They'll run around, they'll start hugging people, like it's just like a little. Guys are definitely going to celebrate, but women tend to really to really
lose their minds, and it's
just
really fun to
lose
watch.
it, right?
Just fucking lose it.
The
It's
first
great.
one is, and probably the nearest and dearest to my heart, is box jumps. I love when a
Yes.
woman who will not jump on a box for whatever reason just one day does it, and the look, it's like deer in the headlights. Like, did I fucking jump on this
Like,
box?
who the fuck just put me up here?
Yeah, did I just gravitate onto this box? And they feel, and it's such a endearing and warm feeling. Like, I love being a part of that. The other one for women is muscle ups. I love watching a woman get a muscle up for the first time, because the best example this year in the Open, actually, one of our athletes at Neuse River, I have it on video, and she got the muscle up, and then she just stopped, and she looked over at the phone that was recording the video, and she just couldn't stop smiling. And she's like, I'm like, you got to come down. You got to try and do another one. There's still like some time left, to do this workout. But my absolute favorite thing to watch somebody accelerate at is rowing, because I feel like
Really?
Absolutely, most people don't know how to row efficiently.
Agreed.
It's really it's a huge loss.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very tall guy, and I'm not
Bullshit. You're way taller than I am.
You're sitting down.
Right. I think we're almost samesies right now, but
I think
your
you're taller
shoulders
now.
are definitely bigger. That's for sure. Nobody doubted that. But when you see the wheels click and somebody actually learns how to efficiently use their body in that movement, it is so projectable. Because if you learn how to row efficiently, I just have this kind of fundamental belief, you can learn how to pace a lot of things. because it's so.
I think that's very true.
Yeah, because rowing is so tangible. It's like, what's your 500 split time? Well, what's your 2K time? What's your 1K time? People understand what those numbers mean, right? And when you I use that a lot as an analogy for talking about workouts like Grace or Isabel. Like, well, if we're gonna do Grace, is Grace your 2K time or is it like your 500-meter sprint time? Because it's probably more of a 500-meter sprint, right? And when people kind of conceptualize that, they understand power output.
I mean, I'll tell you, like, I pace things based off how I learned to row.
Absolutely.
Like, even workouts, I always learned to row. Like, you get that split time down super quick, and then settle into a pace, and then leave a little bit in the tank so you can sprint at the end. And that's exactly how I tackle most workouts. Like, I sprint out, settle into a pace.
Unless it's like a Fran, and then it's a blitzkrieg.
That's a 500 row.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, pace it out and then sprint at the very end. So, like, I get.
I draw that line all the time with my athletes. I'm like, use this as an opportunity to understand.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
He's also drinking Guinness. That's why the brilliant thing works out well.
Yeah.
I'm Irish.
Dude, I have a pint glass from the Guinness brewery that I
Did you
snuck
steal it?
out of the
Did you steal
Guinness
it?
brewery. Yeah.
He stole it.
He's a badass.
He steals a lot of things.
That's not true.
Logan, you got anything?
No, it's just. Wow. Blackheads.
I got a kind of a question for you, John, but it's about Logan because you guys are obviously friends, known each other for a long time. Like,
He's in my wedding party.
is or was?
Well, he's still in my. Well, my wedding's over. We had it. It was in April.
Okay, but he was in it. That's cool.
He came with.
Yeah.
He
Do you,
joined.
at a wedding, like not necessarily a wedding, but like, do you have any good like Logan stories? Like, not okay. So I don't. Not necessarily just a good Logan story, but like, so I have some really good stories about Kevin specifically using his wheelchair to terrify other people.
Oh yeah, this is actually really. There's two things that happen.
He knows the story automatically.
Yeah.
The second you say terrify other people, you're like,
Yeah, no, it is really easy. If you hang out with, it's interesting. If here.
So you have a response.
Here we go. If you hang out with really anybody who has like a missing limb long enough, and you spend enough time with their own wheelchair, people ask some weird shit.
some of the dumbest shit.
They just assume weird things. Like they just.
Where do we begin?
Hey, thank you for your service.
Yeah, that was the best one. The one in the
I'm
airport.
very patrotic, so I walk into that one a lot of times.
For sure. But
I'll
a
be
lot of
wearing
times
camo
Logan
and
will
American
start a
flag
conversation with, and you have to. Logan's fast. He's smooth. He's got fast words. He can get you if you're not listening. He's quick, but he will literally change the arm story depending on the social situation, depending on if he wants to have fun with somebody, and it could be anything from he didn't eat the right food, he got an infection, he had a shark rip it off, his mom got mad at him and broke it off. Like, there's really, so you have to be listening.
Saving humans from Everest.
Saving dogs from humans.
Saving dogs.
So
from humans.
that I would say is definitely so. The responses that come usually after his antics with the he does a lot of shark bites with kids, and they get a lot of looks. He gets a lot of looks for that one.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Like, hey kids, have you ever seen the movie Jurassic Park?
It was based on my life. So, true story about me. So, me, Logan, Stouty, and Alec work on the Adaptive Seminar staff when we were in Baltimore. So, you have missing arm, wheelchair, other wheelchair. All of us have tattoos, beard, like all of us very fit guys. And so, Alec is the only one who doesn't have tattoos. And it looks very clean cut. He looks pretty fucking jacked, but he looks very clean cut.
Right.
And so these guys walk up to us and they're like, "Hey, did you guys serve in the military?" And specifically talking to me, Logan, and Stouty.
The only three who didn't.
And we go, "Oh no, no, we didn't serve in the military. Thank you for the compliment, though." And then Alec goes, and they weren't talking to him at all. And Alec goes, "Well, I did." and the guys go, "Huh?" Which Alec is an adaptive athlete. Like, he has a spinal cord injury. He has this, like, kind of a limb salvage on his right side. Like, he can't feel below his knee on that side, and so he is an adaptive athlete. And he actually got hurt in military service fighting pirates, nonetheless. Like, he literally can say he got hurt fighting fucking pirates. I think that's pretty cool.
It is pretty badass.
But literally, when we're together in the adaptive seminar staff, like, everyone assumes that we're military, except for Alec. and he's the only one that actually served.
Yeah.
I find that hilarious.
That is funny.
One of my
Very true.
favorite like stories about Kevin is it was the year right after your accident, so it was the 2014 games, and we're out there and we're in there's actually Coach Glassman's suite, like we got invited there, which was awesome. But we're in there, and Tony Blauer and his wife were in, and his family were in there, and so we're in there. We get there, it's like 7. Yeah. It's 7 o'clock at night. Like we've been out there all day. Like we walk in and we're like just sweating in our shirts and stuff. These people have been hanging out in a suite all day, and it was awesome. We walk up, and a lot of people know who Kevin are, like Coach Glass, but like everybody. Sorry, not a lot of people. Everybody there knew who Kevin was. But and so like Coach Glassman, all these like level 1 people, Tony Blauer, and all of a sudden Tony Blauer's wife walks up and just goes, "I just gotta ask, does your dick work?"
Oh no.
That is the first thing out of her mouth. It was the funniest shit.
It should probably go on record as saying that we did have a relatively clear conversation about the ins and outs of that and how that works.
I explained it.
He did.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask your adaptive
I'm
athlete.
educated now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went further than I needed to go, but that's what I like about this guy.
That's what she said. I believe my answer was something along the lines of either yes or I can't tell you. Tony's sitting right there.
Oh my god.
Because you had to have questions like that. All,
Yeah.
like just
Do you
some of
ever-
the dumbest.
Like, hey, not hey, what happened, but like
I mean, little
how many-
kids will be like, "Hey, where's your arm?"
Dude,
I'll be like,
I love.
"Oh my god, I left it at home. I cannot believe. Thanks for reminding me. I gotta go." And
do you ever put on like not a prosthetic, but just like a fake arm, and
so
just
prosthetic.
it's called.
well, not
that's what
necessarily
a prosthetic is.
I'm
You
talking like something that doesn't work. Like you just have
A
it there, but like,
cosmesi-
like you're sitting here like this, and all of a sudden you walk away, and it's just still sitting there.
Oh, no,
Have you
that's
ever
a
done
good
anything
one.
like that?
That would be good. No, I haven't.
So how?
Like just be like
how
walking
many
through
times when you're
Target.
carrying something, does someone say, "Hey, do you need a hand?"
Oh yeah, all the time. I get it today. My
I mean,
immediate
I-
response is just story of my life, and they go, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that, man."
I say it on purpose.
Yeah, of course. My friends know to say it on purpose, but people, it's like how, can I help you? It's just the phrase that we've adopted.
I get
So
like
I love
70 and 80-year-old women
I love it.
when I'm getting into my car after going to the grocery store. Do you need help getting in your car? No, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like you need my help more than I need yours.
They might, you should help
Yeah.
them.
I will. I do.
Good.
Yeah. Do you ever get? Is there anything like? Because there's a couple things I know that like really bother like people who like go out of their way to grab a door for Kevin. Like he's going to a door, like the door's right here, Kevin's right there, and a person's way over there, and they run to come open the door. He's like, I can open a door. Is there anything like that people do that just kind of like, dude, I got this?
You maybe at first, because there's a lot, to prove to yourself that you're independent and that you're capable of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I take it as an appreciative gesture by
That somebody
others.
wants to help.
It's they're doing more for their day than they are for yours.
Well,
Like,
damn, we made me
it's-
feel like an asshole.
It's good for I'm just saying. I understand your perspective completely, and I feel that way, and
This
I've
fucking guy.
said that many times. But what is it if they open the door and I go, man, thank you so much, and I get in my car and I'm unaffected, right? I'm on about my day, exactly who I am and how capable I am of things. They just felt like, hell, that guy was probably in Iraq and got shot, and I just held the door open for him, and man, I am doing my part in this country. This
They
is
go
awesome.
home, honey. I helped a veteran today.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not like a dick who's like, hey, you shut that door so I can open it myself. I'm usually like, hey, thank you, and I roll on. But it always kind of, the things that bug me are things that you can see a distinct difference in how they would treat another human being. Perfect example, when I get on and off planes, people grab my legs without asking me. Now think about that for a second. I'm literally moving myself. They're watching me myself, and they start grabbing my legs without asking me. Picture like one of you guys trying to get off a plane, and as you go to stand up, someone just grabs your fucking leg and starts moving it for you. And that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
If I'm being honest, though, I
You're-
would prefer to be carried off a plane. I don't like planes anyways. Get me the fuck off of this thing.
But I could only imagine.
I get pet sometimes too.
I could only imagine. It's It's very. Yeah, and like we were talking about today, like when is it? If there's the worst thing would be to push your chair for you, right? Or would you think?
I hate it when people push
exactly
my chair.
right.
I'm not a dick about it. Like if someone pushes my chair and it's really like bet more for them than it is for me, I'm generally like, hey, thanks, and I try to get out of a situation where they can't keep up with me, so they stop pushing.
Right.
I'm gonna push
But
your
I
chair
fucking
so
hate
much tomorrow.
getting my chair pushed.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
a reason I don't have any handles in the back in my backrest. I did that on
I'm
purpose.
gonna tape on
Exactly.
some handles.
Tape your handles.
And so, back to the question, though. I mean, yeah. What I find difficult and awkward, if anything, is when you get the assumption or the question, are you in the military? Did you serve? And, then that moment is awkward because the answer is no. What I found, to be the best way to say that, to really express, is no, I don't, and I forget where I heard this, somebody said this, but I don't share that honor. And so I've tried to say that because in those moments, that is, because a lot of times they are veterans themselves, and they're wounded veterans, or they've suffered some stuff, and if there's anything I'm most appreciative of, it's those individuals. And so I try to convey, instead of just being like, no, and then they're like, oh,
See, I always say no, I didn't, but I take that as the highest compliment.
Yeah, that's another great way. And I've just recently learned that that's a much better way for me to articulate how I feel about answering that question. Than
Do you
just a
ever
no.
You ever had anyone get mad at you when you tell them no?
I've had a lady.
I've had someone argue
I
with
said
me.
no, and they thought it was me suffering from PTSD and not wanting to be identified as a soldier. So insisted and was like, "It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this." And I was like, I'm fine, just leaving the coffee shop. I was in my car. They ran up to me. They just got done reading, I believe it was Lone Survivor or something. A very traumatic story, incredibly intense. And I think it's what she said. She's like, I just got done reading that, and I know you're wounded, and it's okay. I'm here for you.
She knew.
I swear.
She knew.
I swear. And
Dude,
that was weird.
I've had people get mad at me. I was like, no, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you very much. And they're like, I was just trying to figure it out. They get mad because I'm like, no, I didn't serve, but thank you.
Well, it's because you never like to make an assumption and then be proven wrong.
Or a lot of people are you sure you didn't serve?
Right.
I think I would remember if I was in the military at some point in time in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever have people prey on you?
No.
That's just
no.
It's weird. Being there but not being you. It's weird for me.
So I have people fairly regularly, and if you want to pray for me all you want to. I appreciate the prayers. I love it. You're not gonna come to me, lay your hands on me in some way, say a few words, and have me hop out of my fucking chair.
Be pretty cool though if it did. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Yeah. It's worth a shot.
I'll take where I can get him.
Dude, I was in a Breckenridge Brewery in Denver. It's right by the gym, and I was rolling through, and the guy goes, "Hey, are you Kevin Ogar?" I go, "Yes, I am."
Who the hell are you?
And he goes, "Oh man, I've been following your story. It's been really cool to watch." I'm like, "Hey, I appreciate that, man. What's your name?" And he goes, "I don't remember his name, but he told me his name." He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I pray for you?" And I was like,
"Can you give me a beer first?"
You want to buy me dinner first? I was like, yeah, dude, go for it. Thinking he'll
go home.
He's going to go home and pray for me later. Cool. I can appreciate that. And all of a sudden, just hand on shoulder. Dear Lord Jesus, God, baby 6 pound, 8 ounce Jesus, please let this man walk again. Blah, just
So
went on.
So he was also from the movie Talladega Nights.
Yeah, it was actually Ricky Bobby.
It was
Ricky Bobby.
So Will Ferrell
Yeah.
came by.
And so it was literally a 3-minute prayer of him asking God to give me the use of my legs back. Now here's my favorite part. I've had people pray on me before, but usually they do that and say, "Hey, I hope that worked," and then they walk away. This guy finishes, "Amen." Feel anything yet?
Oh my gosh.
And I look at him, I go, "Nope." And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna be right over there drinking some beer. Let me know if it changes." And I was like, "Uh-huh."
Wow.
Do you ever get, because I remember right after your accident, everybody would send or like tag you in things where it's like, oh, so and so got this procedure and they've been paralyzed for 12 years and they can now walk again. Do you ever get anything like that, like to regrow limbs or like that's like Harry Potter shit? But like, does anybody ever like reach out with?
Yeah. Sometimes, every now and then. But once again, it's probably somebody just trying to be kind and be like, "Hey, man, I was thinking about you when I saw this."
He has a better attitude about this stuff than you do.
It.
I know he
Listen,
makes,
he
makes me feel like a real asshole.
No, I just
You are.
That's true.
But it's people's gestures, and it's easy to take offense to it, or to maybe not take
I wouldn't
offense,
say take offense,
but just
to
be
it.
annoyed or be like, "Oh my gosh." No.
That's probably a better way to explain.
It's interesting for you guys to ask those
Yeah,
questions.
let me tell you
though,
something
and
though,
hear
because
it.
people could be mean and dicks and just slam
Right.
doors in front of you.
Yeah.
So I guess you should really.
Those are
Or
called,
they
those
could,
are
yeah,
called
they could
my
be
friends.
sending videos
Yeah.
like, "Hey, look at me, I'm clapping. How cool is that?"
Yeah.
I don't
Look at
get
me, I
that.
can fucking fold a T-shirt.
Those are all my friends. That's what my friends do.
I do that to Kevin. I'll throw his phone on the floor and be like, that.
One time he literally took my coffee. I don't know how he did it. He had to sit in a ring, like one of the high
it
rings.
was a Starbucks cup, and it perfectly fit in a muscle-up ring
Oh
to where he
my
just sat underneath
God.
it, and he's like, well, not drinking my coffee, and just rolled away.
Oh my god.
And I was like, the doctor said you need to learn to do things for yourself, so I'm helping you do that.
Or they'll put PVCs through my spokes, or
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
you don't have a PVC.
Dude, we covered a lot of really good stuff tonight.
A lot of
That could
ground.
be two
Is
parts.
this 2 hours? Is this been
So actually, my camera's gonna run out at 2 hours, and we're about like an hour 35 right now.
I think that's
Alright.
a good. I think that's a good bit.
I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, it's you guys have to work out tomorrow too. Do you have like either of you guys? Do you have, if you want to like shout out your Instagram handles or like I know you work for Fit Aid now. Is like, is there anything that you want to pitch? or
On my Instagram handle, I'm at the original Johnny P.
what's your gym?
Oh, sorry, that was in the weird. Noose River CrossFit, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Cool.
Raise up.
Logan, you have anything you want to pitch?
No, I mean, thanks for listening. Good God, if you listen to this
If you
whole
stayed this
thing,
long,
don't think that this defines us as people, please. We're better than this.
Are we? Are we better than this? We've had some other conversations this weekend.
Oh, you're
already.
right. No, you're right. No,
Cool.
my name is Logan Aldridge, and my Instagram, which is the social media platform I find most valuable, is Aldridge Logan. I do work for Life Aid Beverage Company. We make Fit Aid. It's the official recovery drink of CrossFit. And that's pretty awesome. It's truthfully, I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but it's a really cool company. We're the functional beverage company, so we make not energy drinks, not just a sports drink, but drinks for your functional lifestyle. Check it out. I encourage you to.
Will they help me walk?
It's good stuff. Yeah, we have Walk Aid, and that one is for all people in wheelchairs. And it works wonders. We're really changing things around, you know? Yeah, no, we did Armade, but it was a reverse formula. The opposite happened. Yeah. If you drink Walk Aid and you can walk, you'll be sitting for a long time. So don't try. But no, yeah, check them out. Check it out. Thanks to Nathan and Ogar, Kevin. Thanks for having us, man.
I want some walk
I can't believe how long this has gone on, but it's been a pleasure.
Kevin, do you want to say where people can find you?
I'm at Kevin Ogar, or at CrossFit Watchtower, or at the Reveille Project, or at Adaptive CrossFit. Any one of those four, you can find me. Google me.
Yeah. And then I'm at Nate Behavior on Instagram. If you want to follow Leg Day Podcast, we are Leg Day Podcast on Instagram. We're also that on YouTube, and you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn. And also, I just found out that Google is now doing like Google Podcasts, so I'm going to try to get us on there as well. But yeah, guys, if you stayed all the way through this, thank you so much for subscribing or watching.
Thank you from Raleigh.
Raleigh Wood.
Stop by and see us up on the river.
Thanks, guys.
We're handicap accessible.